All right, welcome to our hard hits. We are going to get right back in to the swing of things. Four more matchups we need to talk about before we carry on to next week. The first one we're going to take a look at returning from break matchup where it kind of gives you the Team Boo Boo vibe with El Jefe, who broke the single season record for the most points scored in a week, which is outlandish. I mean, I never thought anybody could put 220, and I definitely didn't think that it was going to be Jeff. That's for damn sure. Then we had Team Pops coming off three straight losses, and I thought this was the week he's going to rebound, he's going to get his shit together, and this is it. Like Pop's going to come back from all this, right? Wrong. Jeff A 130.70, defeating Pop 122.04. If I was Pop right now, I'd be fucking sick to my stomach right now. All he needed was Aaron Jones on Monday night, right? And what do we see on Monday night, right? Aaron Jones coughing up the ball. Oh, that's one drive. The next one, missing that wide open pass. It was like a 40-yard pass. Wide open, nobody near him. Just dropping it, right? Sick. If he caught that pass, would have won the game. He lost by a little over 8 points. That's it. Caught that pass, game over, right? What happens? Aaron Jones he's not even in the game plan anymore. Jamal Williams ends up getting that, right? It could have been much more worse. If Jeff A started Jamal Williams sat on his bench for 21.6, right? Let's get into a little bit more of the nastier things, right? Let's talk about the 113.42 points that Pop left on his bench. Yes, you heard that right. 113.42 points. That's just on his bench. Those 113.42 points, that would have beat Raquel, that would have beat Steven, that would have been Michael, and that would have been the Elite. Those are four people just on the top of my head that he would have beat just if he started those four people on his bench. Four people, just four. It gets worse. Stephon Diggs, 41 points on his bench. He elected to start Carlos Hyde, 18.5. Now, granted, I'll be happy with 18.5 in my flex, right? But when you have Stephon Diggs putting up 41 points, fuck. Kirk Cousins. Now, granted, we look at Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan actually put up more points. But Kirk Cousins put up a 34.3 point burger, right? Fuck. Robbie Anderson. Nobody in the right mind would have thought to start Robbie Anderson, right? I wouldn't. But remember, Sam Darnold came back. What happens? Was it 92 or 72? I don't know. Longest play from scrimmage this season. Robbie Anderson scores that touchdown with ease. 21-point burger this week. And Kenyon Drake. Nobody would start Kenyon Drake, so we're not even going to get there 10 points, right? But the moral of the story is there's no moral. It's sickening. If I was Pop, I'd be fucking sick. He got 5 players in double digits. Matt Ryan led all scoring with 36.9. El Guapo, 18.5. Like we talked about the flex position. It would have been better, obviously, if you started Diggs, but you still can't be upset with 18.5. With Ridley with 12.8. D-Hop, who's still not putting up the performances that we would like, with only 12 points. Saints defense with 12. Now let's talk about like the pooper part of it. Zerline only 1. Juju Smith-Schuster 1.2. Like, there's nothing more frustrating right now than being a Juju Smith-Schuster owner, right? And there's nothing more frustrating than being a Juju Smith-Schuster owner and trading for him to become an owner. And that's what Pops did. Trade a 5th-round pick to get Juju Smith. Sounded kind of good on paper, but when they're starting their 18th string quarterback, it's going to be a little bit frustrating, right? Derrick Henry 3.8, and then we talk about Aaron Jones only putting up 6 points. Now let's look at the positive side. Not for Pop, because there's no positive side for Pop. He lost 4 straight games. There's nothing positive for you. And now it's time to be fucking worried. Like, you need to win this matchup this week coming up, or you're done. But we're talking about Jeff A. Left for Dead. About 2 weeks ago, plenty of trade offers were sent his way to hit that panic button, right? He only had 4 players in double digits. It wasn't like earth shattering. Deshaun Watson is killing it right now, 31.4. Nick Chubb also quietly on the radar, 26.4. Miles Sanders had a solid game, 16.7. And OBJ with 14.1. When we look at the negative side to a little bit, Eagles defense had -1. I think one of the think the only player started this week in negative points was the Eagles defense. We have Higbee, who put up only 4 points, Sanu with 4.4. And then, you remember this guy last week who had 50 points? Will Fuller, only 6.9. Like, he came back down to earth. El Jefe, I thought it was an anomaly last week. Obviously, I'm wrong. Like, something's obviously not clicking. I don't know what's going on here. Like, I'm looking at it. It just doesn't make sense. But El Jefe's doing something right. Something. Don't know what it is, but he's doing something right. And for him to string on 2 straight wins, remember, we talked about this team a couple of weeks ago. Barely could put up 100 points consistently. Now he put up 220 last week. And remember, we talked about the jambalaya of the standings. We're gonna look at the points, and after a while, it's gonna be a deal breaker. And with El Jefe putting up 220 points last week, he put up a decent 130 this week. Those points are gonna add up. And, when we have 6 teams vying for like 2 spots, that's going to make a difference. So, El Jefe, I guess we need to start believing in it. We look at Deshaun Watson. I'm not big on Watson, but obviously he's doing something right. OBJ's finally coming back into form. Nick Chubb is a decent running back to have right now. So, he's doing something right. 4 players in double digits is a little bit alarming, especially when we look at the best teams this week, had 8, 9 players in double digits. But maybe it's time that I need to look at El Jefe. Or not. The next matchup we take a look at, Speeding Bullets going up against the Power Game. I told you, Speeding Bullets, it's time for him to round into form. And, he reeled 2 straight victories off right now. And now he finally got his 3rd victory. As a matchup, I thought the Power Game was going to be a little bit more fighting into it. Obviously, I was wrong. The Power Game did make a move before this week. He traded Jarvis Landry to 4th down and bitches in exchange for Jordan Howard. It was a move that I think it works out for both teams, right? It's just the problem is the Jordan Howard bomb is ready to tick. We don't know. We're ready to explode. We don't know if he's going to keep it up. We don't know if he's going to just explode. And obviously this week he exploded for the bad because he was doing great the last 2 weeks. This week he only put 4.9 points up on the board. 2 weeks ago, remember he had a 30-point burger on Thursday Night Football, like absolutely fucking killing it. This week, Speeding Bullets put up 147.72 points in exchange for the Power Game, 131.50. Solid 16-point victory. It was never really a close matchup. The biggest takeaway here is Speeding Bullets is rounding into form. Like, you cannot sleep on this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players in double digits. We talk about teams that can't even put 3, 4 players in double digits. This team is becoming well-rounded. Godwin led all scoring. Didn't lead all scoring. Freeman led scoring with 25 points. Godwin had a 20-point burger. The Niners defense, they're becoming an elite defense, guys. Don't forget that. With 15 points. Thielen with 14.7. Lindsey 14.5. Kittle 14.3. Tucker with 12. Jimmy G, your quarterback, is probably your worst performing player on your team with 10.1. I'll take it. And he's doing all of this with Drew Brees sitting on his bench, waiting to get healthy. And when Drew Brees gets healthy, Speeding Bullets is going to get that much better. It's wild, yo. This team, and we're looking at Joe Mixon with 4.9, who he's having a shitty season, but when he lights it up a little bit, at least he gets a little bit more performance. D.D. Westbrook only 6.8, and his IDP only rounded up for about 10 points in general. And we talk about Jared Cook, recently acquired Jared Cook. You stole Jared Cook from Ricky, and Disley died, and you acquired Jared Cook in return. Like, dude, you're doing something right. So it's time that you need to be scared of Speeding Bullets. Like, we looked at the season he started at 0-3. We were worried. We were concerned. Everybody was sending trade offers to D-Buck, but he said, not yet. Not ready yet. I'm not ready to quit on this team. And he didn't quit on this team. He didn't. And look at what his team's doing right now. Now they're sitting at 3-3. Now they're in the middle of the pack. Now they're going to do something. We look at the Power Game. He was trying to make his team that much better. He tried to tweak it up a little bit. It obviously didn't work. Now it's time to press the panic button. Now it's really time to really trade those puzzle pieces. Let's look for next season. Sitting at 1-5, got to be concerned. He only had 5 players in double digits. Wilson, one of those players who was rumored to be on the move from the power game with 29.9. Scary Terry with 24. AP with 14.6. Sly, his fucking kicker, was one of his leading scorers on his team with 13. And then Kamara is having a horrible season, and it's because of Drew Brees with only 10.1. It's time to press the panic button. We say that every week. I feel like I've said that for 3 weeks now. Like you gotta trade the puzzle pieces. Now is time. You only have about 10 days from now. It's time to get a moving on it. One quick matchup we'll get through before we take a break. We have about 4 minutes. I think I can get through this in 4 minutes. Mr. Incognito, 168.10, going up against the Elite, 100.32. I thought the Elite was going to give a better fight. We looked at what the Elite did last week, surprised a lot of people, got the W. He's fire selling, and he got the victory, right? This week, obviously, was a different story. At one point, we didn't even think that he was going to put up 100 points. Only 3 players in double digits, and only one of those players was an offensive player. Chris Carson with 23.9, Carolina defense 22. Mason Crosby helped him get over the 100-point leap with 11 points. Chris Carson, highly rumored to be moved from the Elite before the trade deadline. We look at his pooper, Roquan, was on a bye week. Vance McDonald only had 1 point. We have Johnson with 2.4, Minshew with only 2.6, Snead with 3.3. It was an anomaly last week. Like, the Elite is not contending. The Elite's not even trying right now. The Elite is trying to move the puzzle pieces. Now, granted, he did have a bye week. A lot of he has like 3 Oakland starters: Jacobs, Waller, Williams, all on bye weeks. Those are players that can do some damage on his team. And DJ Chark didn't have the magical week that DJ Chark had previously. The Elite's not contending. I think this matchup shows you that he's not going to be fighting much. Granted, the Elite is in the middle of everything right now. The Elite could contend if something special were to happen with his team, but it's not going to happen. Now, Mr. Incognito, on the other hand, had a fucking wild game. 8 players in double digits. And we go back to the fucking same thing that he relies on. Patriots defense. 29 points led all scoring, right? David Johnson, 25.2. Tyreek Hill came back, right? And what happens? This is like the first drive. Tyreek Hill gets a fucking long 80-yard pass, right? 22.5 for Tyreek. Evans there was an Evans showing, right? 17.10. Bush on defense at 14. He had 2 interceptions. He had 2 turnovers in the first 2 drives, and one of them was a touchdown, right? So you knew that this was going to go his way. His kicker had 13 points, Mayer. Winston only had 8 turnovers, but still put up 12.1 points, and then Moore with 12.1, right? When things go right for Frank, things go right. When things go wrong for Frank, things go wrong. Like last week when you lose to Team Boo Boo, things weren't clicking. Patriots weren't clicking. Tampa Bay was nowhere to be found, right? But we talk about it. Jameis Winston threw for 400 yards and had 6 interceptions and got sacked 10 times. And yet he still puts up 12.1 points. I don't understand this. I don't understand how this works out for you still. But you did it. Congratulations, Frank. You're still in the running. You're still killing it. But I don't understand. 168.10 points. Obviously, something's working for you. And we talk about it every week. And I don't understand. The Patriots are not going to put 29 points up every week, right? They're not. But I've said that for 4 straight weeks. So it's very frustrating. But Mr. Incognito, you've scored the points. You've taken names. But you got to be consistent. You can't lose the one. You did face Anthony this week. It's not a tough matchup. But granted, you put up 168, you'll beat a lot of teams right now. So, there's reasons to be wary of Frank. And when you put up 168 points and you get 8 people in double digits, it's time to put some people on notice. And Frank is doing something right now. With that said, we're going to take a quick break. We got one last matchup we're going to review, and then we'll take a look at next week.